Okay, so good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining. Today, we're going to talk about interactions with our clients and kind of how to build a long-lasting relationship. Right? The goal that you should all have in this business is number one to make money. Right? That's why we have it. That's why we have our license. We cost money every year to renew your license every 2 years, to pay for errors and omissions, to pay the board fees for Rebney or for LIBOR or for whatever you're going to be on. And so, that's obviously number one. But number two should be to kind of make a career out of this, right? The best position that you can ever be in real estate is one where all you really have to focus on is taking people out, showing them apartments, and kind of closing deals. But that's usually not where we are at the beginning, right? We have to work a lot in prospecting, in building up a client base and building up people who are going to refer you. But once you do close with people, once you've gotten to work with them, they're going to be your best source of referrals. And so how you interact with them on a daily, a weekly, a monthly basis, during or before you start looking, during the process, and afterwards will really kind of dictate how successful you are. So we're going to talk about kind of how to talk to customers, how to kind of build a lasting relationship with people. So, the first thing, and again, communication is key, is what I had the title before, but I changed it to just communication. How we effectively talk to someone is important. And what we have to remember from the get-go is that we are not the only real estate agent out there, and we're not the only person that these buyers, these renters, these sellers can be working with, right? So what we need to do is we need to prove our value and your worth and your kind of you know what you give to them from the first day. And I think the easiest way to do that is by over communicating, right? Again, William, you were mentioning that you had, spoken to this person a bunch of times. She didn't communicate with you. That's okay, right? It's totally fine if we're saying it too much, and if we're following up with people too much, because at least we're trying to do our job and we're showing them that we are intent on helping them. So that's actually a great thing that you brought up earlier. What we want to do is we want to be clear with them from the get-go about a bunch of different things. And again, the three types of people that we tend to work with are renters, buyers, and sellers. Again, landlords can be grouped in with a seller. And so when I'm working with a renter, right, think about this. Usually we start working with a renter about 60 days before their lease is up. They've probably given notice to the fact that they're going to be leaving their apartment. And so one of the most important things to them on a daily basis is where they're going to live next. And so when I'm working with a renter, I'm always in touch with them daily. And sometimes I'm in touch with them a couple times a day, right? And so what you need to do is you need to keep them apprised as to new listings and when they can be seen and the status of the market, right? And again, that's not only new listings, but that's what's happening, right? Hey, you said you wanted to see X, Y, and Z. Well, those have actually all rented. And I just want to keep you updated, but there are some new things, right? This just came up. I always try to be in touch with them, again, a phone call, a text, an email, whatever it is. You want to make sure that you are in touch with these people daily, letting them know, again, what's come on the market. I also will tell people, hey, nothing new on the market today. Let's see what happens tomorrow, right? Or I've reached out to ex landlords to see if they're interested, or if they have any units that are similar to what you're looking for. When I'm working with a buyer, again, I'm in touch with them every other day, right? Maybe, buying tends to be a little longer of a process. You start looking, let's say, 4 to 6 months before your lease is up. So you might not have to be in touch every day. But again, some of your clients might be wanting to be in touch every day. So again, I talk about listings, I talk about what's going on with the market, and I talk about changes to the interest rate. Hey, again, X, Y, and Z, which we saw, are actually all in contract. And so keeping track of those listings is as important as keeping track of the new listings. Again, it's really important to stay on top of the market, what's happening, just to, again, not to pressure them, but to prove to them that when you say, hey, this market is tight for, 2 bedrooms downtown under $1 million, that is the case. And again, by keeping in touch with the market, we can really get a sense of that. When I'm working with the seller, I always want to set a schedule, right? And when I take their listing, I tell them, this is how we're going to do it, right? And what I tend to do is say, once a week, we're going to update on terms of marketing, what I've been doing to get it rented, what the number of contacts I've had are. You can kind of get metrics to show them from the different websites that we advertise on, StreetEasy, Zillow, Wykert.com, Realtor.com, and all that. I also always tell them right after the open houses, right? And I always give them feedback, right? Hey, I had an open house this weekend. We had 2 showings, one with a broker, one without. This was the feedback. And sometimes you give them the numbers maybe the day of the open house. typically on Sunday. And then Monday, once you follow up with everyone who's come, you let them know kind of what the reaction is. They thought it was overpriced. They're interested, but they're seeing 10 other places. Again, it's really just keeping them up with what's going on. Again, always ask the other agent or the client, if it's a direct client, about questions and feedback, right? I tend to send an email to everyone who comes to my open house saying, thanks so much for coming. I just wanted to know if you had any additional questions or any feedback that I can share with the seller. And brokers tend to be very open about it. Direct clients, not so much, but again, it's about communication and staying in touch with these people. So trust, right? You can't really have a working relationship unless they know that you're there for them and that they can trust you. And I always say this, and again, you'll hear this probably in every single workshop that I do and a lot of the trainings that we'll do together. As a broker, the two things that we can provide people and that we can give to them are helping them to save time and money, and those are both precious commodities. We save them time as let's say buyers by vetting properties for them, doing all the due diligence and research, setting them up with a team of people to work with. We save them money by negotiating, by helping, push their point of view and the fact that they want to spend maybe less money than something is asking and things like that. And so you really build that trust relationship by being extremely upfront. And I find one of the first things that you want to do whenever you're working with someone is to be upfront about fees, timelines, and comps, like what else is on the market. So in terms of fees, right? We'll get to this in a second, but when I'm working with a buyer, I always do a quick 10 to 15 minute talk with them, just going over the process of renting, working with me, and what the brokerage fee could be. In this market, it's great because a lot of the buildings are paying our fee, and you can say, and this comes at no cost to you whatsoever. The same thing when you're working with buyers. A lot of people in New York are used to paying a broker that they're working with a fee. And 90% of the time, we don't collect a fee from the buyer, right? We're getting it from the seller at closing. And so telling them that, saying, I just want to make sure that you remember, I come at no cost to you. And timelines, right? How long an approval process might take, how long it takes to go from accepted offer to closing, right? Those are things that you need to know and you need to be extremely upfront about, right? These days, a typical condo and co-op closing is taking about 60 days. So you get an accepted offer, from the accepted offer into contract, usually it's taking about 2 weeks. From the contract to the mortgage commitment, because most people are getting mortgages, is about 3 weeks. Submit the board package. It's about 2 to 3 weeks for management to review. About 4 weeks for the board to get back to you. Then an interview, and when you add up all those timelines, it's about a 60 to 90-day process for co-ops. 60 days for condos. If there's no financing, it can be a little bit quicker. And comps, right? You always want to make sure people know what else has sold in the building if they're potentially putting in an offer, what else has been put on the market in a certain neighborhood that they're looking in, right? Keep up with them and make sure they know everything so they can kind of be informed about the market. One of the hardest things as a new agent, and again, some of you are newer to the business, is that a lot of times someone will ask a question and we do not know the answer. That is totally fine, right? The number one thing you can say is, hey, I'm not exactly sure, but let me look into that and get back to you shortly, right? That can be what a maintenance is on a cold call. That can be, what's going on in terms of, development in the neighborhood, right? There's a lot next door that looks like they're going to build up. Let me look into that, right? You can do some due diligence and some research and get them the correct answer. A lot of times the listing agent will have the answer, so you can ask them for it. Or you can ask me, I can help you find it, right? You can Google it. If there's a vacant lot on a block and you want to know what's going on, find the address, Google it, and there's a ton of websites that will often tell you what's going on, what the development plans are. We can look it up on Acris or other New York-based listing sites and things like that, and just get more information. So honesty, again, this is kind of on the whole trust side, but you never want to misinform someone or cover up any facts, right? If the other broker tells you something, and again, they're disclosing information, that means that you can share it with your client because your fiduciary responsibility is to your client. So if they say, oh, the owner won't take less than 1.4, again, we don't know if you have to trust that, but you can tell that to your client, right? And don't ever not tell them that. The other thing that can be hard, and again, I've run into this a few times now. People are super gung-ho about an apartment. They want to put in an offer and stuff like that. And they say, well, what do you think? Right. And we can often be concerned with the paycheck. Right. And again, the best thing about this business is how much money we can make when we do a deal. Right. It's a great thing. And it's a great way to make money. But sometimes you have to kind of hold it and make sure that you're not putting them in a position that might not work for them, that's not going to work out, even if it doesn't get you the deal. And again, that can be so hard when, especially when maybe you haven't done a deal in a while or things like that. But people really respect you if you tell them why you don't like it. And again, their opinion is much more important than yours. But if you say, hey, it looks like a building's going up next door and you'll lose all your views, that's great, right? But if you don't tell them that and then later on it happens, they're going to blame you and they're not ever going to want to refer you again. So they'll always respect you for telling them the truth, and telling them why not to buy something, right? And they might still buy it. That's totally fine, right? I've had that happen before. I said, hey, there's a lot in this building. I think the prices are going to come down. The client said, no, this is the perfect one for me. I said, not a problem. Let's get you the best deal possible. And we did do that. Again, not an apartment I would have bought in. There were tons of things we saw that I thought were much, much better value, better investments for them, but they bought what they wanted to. And so again, they respected me. And again, she's referred me other clients in the futures. So again, this one, Suzanne Bros, who some of you have met, have taught before. Suzanne really, really taught me this, right? You want to think of everyone that you work with as a family member. And I can tell you from personal experience, a lot of my clients have basically become my New York family, right? I've had people that I met showing a rental apartment and they are now some of my best friends, right? I've sold places to people and I've been invited to Thanksgiving at their house. There are all these things that we do because if you put the care that you would to into your family, and again, I'll take a step back. If you hate your family, then don't think of it this, but think of it as your friends or whoever you love. Think and if you do this, it's really going to help you build a really lasting relationship, right? People tend in New York City to go through multiple apartments. I can tell you from again my personal experience, I've had friends who rented $1,500 apartments. 2 years later, rent $3,000 apartments, go on to buy a 1-bedroom or studio, and then sold the place, right? And so I basically had 4 deals with one person in the, it's about 12 years I've been in real estate. So I've had people who've done that. I've had people that I've sold them one apartment and again, one of my clients did very well, sold a company, and now he's bought 4 apartments from me and I rent them out. I manage them for him. Again, he's like a family member. He trusts me. I trust him. We work together and things like that. Building that relationship takes time. It takes care. It takes consideration. But these people become your network. And again, as I mentioned before, Suzanne, who's been doing this for about 50 years now, she's the best example of this, right? She does so much for every single client, right? And sometimes she says, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm doing this. I become a therapist to people, and she goes above and beyond. And by doing that, like we would probably do for our families, these people become an amazing group of referrals, right? Because they love you, they love what you've done for them, and as long as you stay in touch and stay connected with them, they're going to refer you out to their friends, their family. If they're in a conversation and someone says, oh, I'm thinking about buying in New York, they're going to be like, you have to talk to Suzanne, or you have to talk to Jason, or you have to talk to any of you. And that is the easiest way to build your business. And again, basically the only clients that I really take out at this point are people that are referred to me, right? I don't kind of, I give out the clients that I prospect to you guys. I help you to build your business. And it's a really, really great way of, again, once you've done one person, you can kind of get their whole sphere of influence and expand the people that you know. If you treat people as a paycheck and just wanting to close on them, because they can sense that, right? They can sense, why is he being pushy? Why is she only showing me, apartments where she's getting paid a 1.5-month fee instead of a 1-month fee? But if they're not going to want to use you again, right? They're going to be like, okay, thanks. You rent something, boom. And there's been experiences of people that I've seen who've been really, really successful rental agents, right? But they haven't built a business because all they do is rental after rental after rental, and they make good money. But then they find out later those people moved out, they rented something bigger, and they never used them. They bought something, they didn't use them either, right? And if you tell people, again, think of it as growing with your clients. They might start as rental clients, but they often buy down the road. And if you stay in touch with them, if you do everything that we kind of go over in the next few slides, they're going to want to refer you out and they're going to help you build your career. So again, over communicating, especially at the beginning, saves you time and money, and it helps build this relationship. So whenever I'm working with a new renter, right? Let's say my cousin's like, hey, Joe's moving to the city. I want you to help him out. I say, great, not a problem. And the first thing that I send an email to Joe and I say, or I'm connected from my cousin. I say, so nice to meet you virtually. I would love to take some time and either do a quick Zoom or phone call with you just to talk about the process of working in New York City and renting an apartment here. And I've never in my entire career had someone say no to that, right? No one has ever said no when they've been referred to me. And no one has ever said no if they're calling on a listing. Hey, I'd love to have a quick conversation with you just to go over the process here. Everyone likes information, right? They want to make sure that they know the process and things like that. And so I always go over the process of working with me, right? Number one is the documentation that they'll need, especially if people are renting from outside of New York City. They don't know the documents they need. And again, for those of you who can, I really suggest coming to the rental boot camp tomorrow from 10 to 12. We'll be going over those documents, the process, really how to do this on a much more kind of nitty gritty basis. But what they need to do to rent an apartment here, how I communicate with them, right, and how we're going to work together, right? Hey, I'm going to send you some listings today. I'm going to send you some listings tomorrow morning. Give them an expectation and meet that expectation. Again, when they can go out for showings, and so how you're going to set up the showings. I'm going to set up showings for Saturday at 4 when you said you could go out. We're going to see 5 properties, and really excited to show you all these. Or they might say, I want to see everything first, right? So then you send them the emails and then you set up the showings. And again, I think really important, especially this day and age, there's so many websites people use to look for rental properties. How should these people handle anything they see online, right? What I tell people is, if you see anything online, send it to me, right? Don't set up the appointment, or if you feel like you have to set up the appointment, CC me on it so they know that we're working together, the other broker, which again, that can be a very difficult thing. If someone just starts going and sending out emails through Street Easy and they're like, oh, I want you to come with me. Well, other brokers can be a little hesitant. So say, I would like to set up any appointments that we have. If you see anything online, send it over to me. I'll do all the due diligence, make sure it's still around, and set up the showing for us. I always disclose at the beginning what the brokerage fee is, who pays it, and how that works. And again, being upfront is so important, right? And they might say to you, hey, I don't want to pay a brokerage fee. And the immediate response to that is not, okay, I don't want to work with you, bye. The immediate response to that is, let me do some searching and find options where my fee is covered by the building. Would that be good for you? And 100% of the time they say, great. And you send those over. And let's say there's nothing they like there. You say, well, there's another class of properties, right, where you'd pay a 1-month fee. Might that work for you? And then they're like, well, I'm not sure yet. I'm going to do some searching first. Not a problem. Again, what did that do? That saved you taking someone out, showing them properties with a fee that they didn't want to pay for. The other thing is the disclosures and required forms. And again, go over these with them on that first consultation and then send them to them electronically. Again, if you're working with a rental client, the tenant registration and fee agreement, the fair housing disclosure, and the agency disclosure form. And again, we'll go over all those at the rental boot camp tomorrow. Again, any other forms, you're going to be having to sign COVID forms and things like that, and just talk to them about what that looks like. So during the process, right, and again, because rental clients are so much more immediate, it is extremely important to make them feel like they're your only client, right? What does that mean? That means that you're getting back to them promptly. That means that you're, responding to them within an hour, let's say at the latest, and you're setting up appointments for them when they want to see it. And let's say you're going away, right? Let's say you can only show on Saturdays and you've got someone who wants to go out after work. Well, find someone to partner up with, right? That's one of our biggest strengths as a company is that we have great agents and we all work together. I can't tell you how many deals that we put through this company that are multiple agents on it, right? 2 people working together, someone as a shower, whatever it is, right? And that's important because that helps you build your business and it helps you cover something if you're going away. I used to work in Italy every summer before I became the manager for 2 months, and I would go away and I never lost a deal. I can tell you that I never lost a deal because I was working with Eunice and with Stephanie, and they would cover every one of my clients for me and we'd split the deals, right? Because it was my referral or someone I've been working with. They either finished the deal or they started and took them out, and we worked together, right? And that's how we worked. Find someone, either one person, again, if you're part-time, make sure that you have someone who can cover for you all the time, and you guys work out something between you guys to start. If you're full-time, and again, if you know you're going away for a week, have someone that you can rely on, right? And that's building a trusting relationship with the other agents in the office. Over communicate, right? Especially for renters. You want to get in touch with them every day and check in, right? All it has to be is, hey, nothing new on the market. Let me know if you see anything. Or, hey, there's a couple places. Are you able to go out tomorrow or whenever it is, right? And just communicate. And it can be a text, a phone call, an email. Again, sometimes people don't respond. So I always try, I call or text first. If they don't respond, I email. And then later in that day, I do the opposite. So I called in the morning, I text in the afternoon, or vice versa. You always want to show that you are an item of value. And again, clients can sometimes see us as agents as just someone to unlock the door, right? And that is not a career, right? A career is built upon someone who's going to be, again, saving them time and money and giving them pertinent information to what they need. So what we can do is we can refer them to people. And that also shows that we have a team that can help handle them, right? So if they're moving, they're going to need movers probably, right? So refer them movers that you work with. If or that you've liked in the past. And Whitecard also has ones that we can refer out. If they, most rental apartments these days are requiring renters insurance. Set them up with Jamie and give them the information on Whitecard Insurance. That way, you're showing that you've got all these resources around you that you can help them to build the business, to get through the move that they're on. And it helps you build your business. I apologize. And be transparent, right? Tell them everything and follow up with them, right? The worst thing you can do is kind of cover something up or not respond to them. Again, they're never going to want to work with you. And think of how many agents there are in the city, right? There are tens of thousands of people, if not hundreds of thousands, who have their real estate license, and they could just go to someone else. But if you're there for them, and if you're kind of a resource for them, they're going to want to work with you. I can't tell you how many people were running around, on Street Easy, just like clicking on everything. I was introduced to them. I met them. I talked to them. They said, wow, I didn't know this whole process was this. I didn't know that all these things were going on. And then they worked with just me, right? So they, renters have, a bad rep for being kind of flaky, which they definitely are, and they definitely will be. But if you show them your worth and if you show them everything, they will want to work with you. So again, let's say you get through the process, they apply, great, you get your commission check, you cash it, congratulations. These people should not be forgotten, right? And these are people that you want to stay in touch with for the rest of your career and the rest of your life, right? Ask them for referrals. They're your best source of referrals because they know how you work, how much time and effort you put into them, and they're going to want to have you help their friends and family. And again, Suzanne can show this. She builds her entire thing on doing a great job for people, and she has her business 100% on referrals, basically. Ask people for testimonials, even if they don't rent from you. And this is an important one, right? A lot of times we'll show someone a bunch of apartments, they'll like you and stuff like that. They're like, ooh, I actually decided to renew my lease. Not a problem, right? Don't be like pissed at them, right? And again, the initial reaction is going to be anger because you're like, well, I'm not making any money. But don't see that. Don't see that time that you spent, maybe that money you spent on transportation, things like that, as in vain. Because these are people who can help build your online presence by getting a testimonial. Again, you just say and send an email. And I've never had someone who didn't rent from me that didn't do this, right? Say, hey, I'm building my online presence. I'd love for you to leave a testimonial. You really know how I work since we've been working together for the last 2 weeks. And they're like, great, right? And ask for their new address. You can put it in your database and you can keep them informed. And again, keep when their lease is up in your database as well. You always want to give thanks to people, right? Because they used you. They know that you're getting paid a fee off this. So get them a move-in gift, right? Get them something small, tailored to you. Something like a keychain you could do, very small. I tend to do like a bottle of champagne if I know that they drink, or a small gift card or something like that to a local restaurant. It's a really nice way of telling them thank you, because again, they know you made some money off them, and by giving them this, it's a really great way to have them remember you and be like, wow, he didn't only want to make money off me, he wants to stay in touch, and follow up with people, right? This is the one where a lot of people kind of drop the ball, right? Maybe they get a referral or ask for testimonial, but then they forget about them, and they find out 2 years later the person bought something without them. Oh, I didn't know that you bought stuff, or that you sold properties. So I always follow up, right? And there's a couple easy checkpoints that you have along the way. Again, usually you sign leases, they move maybe a couple weeks later. Follow up the day of the move. Hey, how's the move going? Just want to check in, make sure everything went well. Check in a few months. Hey, how's the apartment? Did you get everything set up? How's it look? Send them news about the area, right? New restaurants opening, about what's going on in Dumbo if they move there and things like that. You also want to put a reminder in your calendar for 4 months out. And again, that sounds like a lot of time, but you want to, again, get back on their radar 4 months before their lease is up to say, hey, how's it going? Are you thinking about renewing? If not, I'd love to help you again. And again, they'll get into a conversation with you and help you build a relationship. And again, maybe like, actually, yeah, we're going to move, or actually we're going to buy. And then you can say, hey, I do sales. And again, when you close, you always want to make sure people know that you do sales when you close from a rental as well, so that in case, hey, whenever you're ready for your next apartment, don't forget about me. So again, when we're working with buyers, it's a fairly similar thing. Again, you want to go over the disclosures and required forms and do a buyer consultation, right? And the process of that goes over the documentation, your communication style, how showings are going, and how to handle for sale by owners or what they see online, right? One of the good things about this market is that most for sale by owners will pay the buyer's broker a fee, right? So it's not your listing, but you're going to get paid at closing by the seller. I'm sorry, most sellers will do that. One of the biggest things that we want to tell buyers when we're working with them is that I'm working for you, but you pay me nothing, right? I'm paid by the seller at closing. And if you remind them of that at the beginning and during the buyer consultation, again, you're showing value, right? I'm here to be your advocate, and you pay me nothing. Isn't that a great thing? And that really works. So again, with buyers, you want to make them feel like they're your only client as well. And again, team up. Again, this is pretty similar to the renter one. Communicate every day because that they're looking online themselves as well, right? They're going to be looking at StreetEasy, Zillow, Trulia, Realtor.com, all these things. Refer them, in this case, mortgage broker, insurance, movers, and again, be transparent, right? These are really our best practices while we're working with someone. Same thing. Testimonials, referrals. I always bring a nice gift to the closing for them. I follow up the day I know they moved in, the day they get their keys. I oftentimes, and again, this is part of the way that I build my relationship, these people become clients for life, right? They're not done with me. And most people think, hey, I'm never going to hear from Jason again. But I systematically follow up with all of my people over time, and we'll get into easy ways of keeping track of that. And again, I send them a closing anniversary. Hey, you've been in the apartment for a year. Congratulations, right? And people love that. They're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it's been a year. So again, this is kind of towards the end of everything, but what are our tools for success, right? And I think you've kind of gotten through the gist of this. It's all about communicating, talking to people, staying in touch with them through the process of kind of onboarding them as leads into clients, through the process of working with them, and afterwards. And so, your tools for success are two things, right? My Weichert is pretty amazing, and after we kind of close this out, I'll show you this. You can put reminders for yourself for follow-ups, right? So you can put in there, if as long as your client's in there, and again, you can always add any clients that you have. You can say, 1 year anniversary of move-in for Julie. You can add a hashtag, Upper East Side. So then if you find cool information on the Upper East Side, you can send it to all your Upper East Side clients at the same time. You can also put them on a campaign. You've got great drip campaigns. You can create your own campaign, and Annabelle, our marketing specialist, can help you with that. And you could basically have one. So it's like, if you put in the right dates, you can have it send a card on their birthday, a Christmas card, Valentine's Day card, Thanksgiving card, either through the mail or through the electronic templates and things like that. 1 year anniversary at your house. Hey, your lease is coming up in 4 months. Have you thought about moving? And you can automate that whole system, right? So you could put buyer, renter, set them all up with the right dates, and just let it go. You don't even have to remember them. Again, you kind of want to remember them. I like checking with all my clients whenever I can. And people will slip through the cracks, but the system is really there to help that from happening. Again, I also can use calendar reminders to put in things into my either, again, your Outlook calendar, your iCalendar, whatever it is. So for renters, the lease start date, 4 months before the lease expiration. So then again, you're remembering about this. Closing date anniversary for buyers, people's birthdays, right? You get these because on every application it asks for your birthday. They need it for the credit check, and the same thing with any board package. So take it, put it into your database, put it into your calendar, wish them a happy birthday, send them a card. You have their address and stuff like that. It's great. I even ask people who didn't rent for me, hey, can I have your address? I just want to be able to stay in touch with you. And I've only had, I think, 1 or 2 people who said, oh, I'm okay, thank you. Everyone else has been super nice about it and given it to me. So, okay, so that is it for this part of the presentation. Thank you guys. I'm going to stop the recording.